Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, classmates. I am Maria Jessica A. Romagos, MAED EM. This is the continuation of our report in Chapter 7, The Leadership in Public Organization. My topics are the ethics of leadership, leadership in public service. Under the leadership in the public service, we have the leadership in the policy process, leadership in public agencies, and some concluding notes. The ethics of leadership. A leader is someone with the power to project, either show or light upon some part of the world and upon the lives of the people who dwell there. A leader shapes the ethos in which others must live. An ethos as light-filled as heaven or as shadowy as hell. A good leader has high awareness of the interplay of inner shadow and light, lest the act of leadership do more harm than good. This is according to Parker Palmer. Leadership involves changing values, and changing values is hard, both for the leader and for the follower. Part of the role of a leader is to provide the assurance that we need to face the future. The leader is the one who says, "It's okay, we'll be fine. What we are doing is the right thing." But doing so requires to assume a certain responsibility to make sure that the process of moving forward is undertaken with care and sensitivity. James MacGregor Burns argued that leadership involve a relationship between leaders and followers who engage with one another in a process of determining what is to be sought. Leaders act on their own motives and interests, but these must be connected to the motives and interests of the followers. In order for moral leadership to occur, the values of both the leader and the followers must be represented. As Bourne has said, leaders and followers are engaged in a common enterprise. They are dependent on each other. Their fortunes rise and fall together. In such a relationship, the views of followers should be freely expressed and fully contained. Leaders and followers should engage in dialogue, not monologue. And it should be structured so that fundamentally new ideas and relationships emerge. The ethical issues are significant, but there are no easy guide for the leader. Moral leadership is not based on a set of moral principles or rules that the leader can choose to follow or ignore. Unfortunately, many leaders uncritically accept an organization's culture and fail to recognize the ethical traps it holds for them. Identifying and resolving moral issues requires moral imagination, a good sense of ethical awareness, but also the imagination to promote a moral process and result. Moral imagination involves not just heightening attention to moral concerns, but rather carefully and thoughtfully understanding and evaluating various options from a moral point of view. Howard Gardner, whose early work on multiple intelligences underlies more recent work on emotional intelligence. In Five Minds for the Future, Gardner speculated that the changes in our world today and into the future will require the following 5 specific minds. The first is the disciplined mind, is that which has mastered a single discipline, craft, or profession. It provides a foundation for the work of other minds. The second, the synthesizing mind, is able to bring together ideas from many different sources in a way that makes sense. In this sense, this mind is especially valuable to leaders of the future who must sort through amazingly complex information to make decisions. The third, the creating mind, comes up with new ideas and concepts and is helpful in breaking new ground. The fourth, the respectful mind, recognizes and celebrates the differences among individuals. And the last is the ethical mind, moves beyond self-interest to make decisions based on a sense of social responsibility. All of these minds, Gardner argued, are important to people throughout society, but especially to those who would lead. Leadership in the public service. Public leaders help to create vision for their community, state, or country, help to build the public policy agenda, mobilize public opinion with respect to policy proposals, and play an important role in shaping and implementing those programs and policies that government undertakes. Leadership in the policy process. Leadership in the public realm is concerned not only with the conduct of organizations, but also with establishing policies on a variety of important social, economic, and political issues. Burns, on his analysis of transformational leadership, largely based on his studies of political leaders. He argued that leaders must be sensitive to the needs and aspirations of the followers, so that both leaders and followers can grow and develop together. Heifetz, on his leadership without easy answer, largely based on his examination of both elected and appointed leaders in public service. He noted that people sometimes are described as leaders just because they are able to gather followers or exert influence on a group or an organization. But such but such a values-free notion of leadership, according to Heifetz, fails to recognize that when we talk about leadership, we inevitably talk about the roles and responsibilities that members of community hold. In a more recent work, Leadership on the Line by Heifetz and Linsky, they made a useful distinction between technical work and adaptive work. In technical work, the approach is for the authorities to apply, while in adaptive work, the people have to learn new ways of operating. Technical work is the work of routine management, whereas adaptive work is the work of leadership. Leadership in public agencies. Much of the material about organizational leadership already covered applies to the public sector. There are several important studies that show how leadership in the public service is different. Terry suggested that leaders in public bureaucracies watch over institutions that embody important social ideas and for that reason bear a special responsibility to maintain the integrity of those institutions. The leader's role is in large part to conserve the public service values that are part of the public organizations. Ultimately, Terry argued administrative conservatorship actually is a form of statesmanship, balancing professional expertise, political skills, and the values of democratic governance. Vincent and Cruters argued in street-level leadership that leadership occurs throughout public agencies, even at the front line. These frontline workers exercise leadership in their relationship with clients and others. Vincent and Cruters argued that these frontline workers exercise leadership in the relationship with others and clients. As the situational model leadership would suggest, public servants make choices within the context of the particular situation in which they find themselves. While the transformational model suggests they exercise influence but also are influenced by and accountable to others. Some concluding notes. Leadership must develop through an open and involving process in which the values and interests of all members of the group are equally valued. Shared leadership focuses not on the leader but rather on a cluster of individuals working and growing together. Leadership is seen as a function that operates within a group, an activity in which many can participate. Leadership occurs where the action of one member of a group or an organization stimulates others to recognize more clearly their previously latent needs, desires, and potentialities, and to work and together toward their potentialities. In other words, leadership energizes. For my implication, most of our leaders try to construct rules or codes of conduct that followers need to follow. The ethical choices we face every day are always too difficult for us because we are embodied by our own codes of conduct. For the energizing effect of leadership to be felt most strongly, leadership must reflect the interest of many in a group. Again, I am Maria Jessica A. Romagos, MAED-EM. Thank you so much po for listening.